Hello my lovelies, and thank you so much for joining me. So today we are going to be talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. But before we get started, let's hear the word for today. So the word for today is gosh. 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 Well done guys, you just said donuts. I need to show you before we get started the back of my top. It's seriously so cute. I'm so in love with it. Look the back. It has a bow guys. Oh my god, I love it. I hate the color, but I love the rest of it. Okay, anyway, so just a quick disclaimer. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk in today's video. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. All the information I'm giving you is already found in the public domain, and of course I will also be giving you my own opinions and views on it. Thank you so much guys. Now I really wanted to do a different video today, and I wanted to go into depth about what the witnesses said on Amber Heard's side. But I watched the trial yesterday on Monday, and it's the last week of the trial, and I think it's more important for me to talk about what happened yesterday, and maybe we will leave the other witnesses in another video. Now I'm trying to fit as many videos as I can in a week, but it's very difficult because last night, for example, I had 4 hours of sleep because I had to watch the trial, and I had to catch up on the trial because I couldn't watch it from the beginning. So I kind of had to pause that and then do whatever I needed to do, and then I had to go back to it and take notes and everything, and I'm recording the video, and then I have to edit the video. The editing takes a couple of hours, so I'm really struggling with time here. But there are so many things that I want to cover in Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and I think they are very important to be covered. So it's possible that I will be spreading the videos with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard over the next few weeks, even if the trial finishes, even after the trial finishes, because there are a lot of things which I think are very important to highlight. So yeah, I hope that I'm not getting you bored with any of this stuff. I don't want to drag it for God knows however long, but I think that some things are really important to mention, regardless of the outcome of the trial. All I'm going to say before I get into what happened yesterday in the trial, so Amber Heard's team was supposed to call Johnny Depp on the stand, and I think that he was supposed to be a hostile witness, but they wanted to bring him onto the stand. However, yesterday, after the court finished, Elaine Baroff said that they are not going to be calling Johnny Depp on the stand anymore, and I think it's purely because they are running really low on time in comparison to Johnny Depp's team, who have I think around 18 hours left, and we still have 4 days to go of the trial. Amber Heard's team, they only have about 4 or 5 hours left, so it's a huge difference, and Johnny Depp's team are at a huge advantage in this from this point of view. So if you guys don't know, once the time is up, that's it, the time is up. Even if you have a witness on the stand and the judge said from the beginning that there will be a time limit on everything, even if you have a witness on the stand and your time is up, that's it. The witness is not going to be able to testify anymore, and I think that this goes as well with the cross-examination. So if Johnny Depp's team bring in a witness, then if Amber Heard's team don't have any more time left, they won't be able to cross-examine anyone. And looking at the last week of the trial and looking at how relaxed Johnny Depp's team is, I think it's safe to assume and to predict that they have something up their sleeve. And I think that they know that with whatever they have up their sleeve is going to make a huge difference, and so they don't really seem stressed in comparison to Amber Heard's team. The lawyers, they really seem stressed, they really seem fed up, they really seem like, oh, let's just get this done with because I can't handle it anymore. So yeah, this is at the point we are at right now. Johnny Depp is not going to take the stand, but as far as I know, it seems that Kate Moss will be taking the stand on Johnny Depp's side. Johnny Depp and Kate Moss, they still have a very close relationship. They've been friends, and they are friends now for ages, since they were first a couple, but now they are friends. So as far as we know, Kate Moss will be taking the stand, which is just brilliant and amazing. First witness of the day we had Dr. Richard Moore. Now, Dr. Richard Moore was called by Amber Heard's team as a specialist, and he specializes in orthopedic surgery, in particular hand surgery. Now, there were a couple of things with this doctor during the direct examination that I was thinking, oh my god, this is really going to damage the Johnny Depp's case because of what the doctor said. So Dr. Richard Moore, he's got a career of around 25 years, and he has performed thousands and thousands of hand surgeries, and obviously they called him from Amber Heard's side on the stand just so he can give an overview of Johnny Depp's injury and how that could have happened, and how an injury of his description would actually look like, and what kind of procedure it would need done. But we need to keep in mind, I'm gonna say it from the get-go, we need to keep in mind that this specialist, Dr. Moore, he's never examined Johnny Depp, he never examined his finger, he never examined his hand injury. He's basing his testimony on witness statements, on doctor keeper notes, on medical records, on text messages, on video depositions, and more or less on these things. So, and on x-rays as well, x-rays of Johnny Depp's hand. So he hasn't physically seen Johnny Depp or his injured finger at the time of his injury. So again, I'm gonna take it from the beginning with a grain of salt, because you can't, how can you really give a professional opinion as a surgeon when you don't see the patient, you don't see the hand, so you just base your opinion, professional opinion if you will, on a couple of x-rays and some stories here and there. I don't know, guys, I don't know, but let's just get on with it. So according to this doctor, to Dr. Moore, he performed hundreds of hand surgeries with injuries similar to Johnny Depp's injuries. He looked at, as part of his professional opinion, he looked at video deposition and in particular Johnny Depp on the stand and the way that he described the injury happened. He also looked at photos of the scene, he also watched other videos, he also listened to audio tapes and all these kind of things. So this is what the doctor is saying that he's basing his professional opinion on. And there was a lot of, you know, back and forth going around there, and we got to the conclusion, well, not we, because at the end of it I didn't really get to the conclusion that the doctor got, but the doctor is saying that Johnny Depp's finger injury was not consistent with a vodka bottle. So the way that this doctor described the injury, he took a particular point in time when Johnny Depp was demonstrating how the injury happened, but the doctor only took his video into account, the one where he lays his hand flat on the surface. And this doctor is saying that because of his hand being laid flat on the surface, it's impossible for this injury to have happened from a vodka bottle thrown from the top. However, if you look at the whole Johnny Depp's testimony, him being on the stand, his description was being on the stand, and also his description in the deposition before the trial, his hand was not always flat on the surface, so his fingers were dangling to a side at one point, if you remember the way that he describes what happened. And also this doctor, Dr. Moore, is saying that Johnny Depp's injury happened, it's actually a crush injury. So it's not consistent with a cut, but it's a crush injury. Now, crush injury typically means that is impacted by some kind of object hitting the hand. I'm going to explain it in, you know, basic terms. So an object will hit your hand, will hit the top of your hand, and that will cause the injury, such as catching your hands in accordion doors, like the doctor said, or smashing something, or catching your hand in a door, for example, in the car door, for example. Now, as for accordion doors, I'm a bit reluctant to say that you can get an injury like this. I mean, what force would you need to use to actually shut those two doors, or you know, the accordion door, to catch your finger in such a way to remove the tip of your finger off without you feeling any pain of when to stop, if you know what I mean. Because I'm sure that a lot of us over time, we caught our finger in a door, in a drawer, whatever, wherever. I certainly did that on so many occasions because I'm usually so very clumsy. Even, yeah, I caught my fingernail in the drawer, I caught my finger in the door because I was paying attention to something else when I closed the door, and I effectively closed the door on my hand. And I never got an injury like that to sever my finger, even though it was an impact. But at the point when the door hit my hand, my fingers, I knew that I have to stop, in terms that my brain is telling me, hold on, you're doing something wrong and you're causing yourself pain. So, you know, you kind of, your brain kind of reacts to the action, so that it gives you, hold on a moment, something is wrong here. I'm explaining it in my own terms here. So yeah, the doctor is saying that the injury happened from a crush injury, from an object. And again, the doctor is basing his testimony on the deposition and on the description, on the audio tapes, on the photos of the scene, and so on and so forth, and also on the x-rays. So he looked at Johnny Depp's finger x-rays, and he said that typically in an injury where you would have a vodka bottle thrown at you, your finger would be severed. Then on the x-ray you would see bone fragments, you would see glass shards, and it would be a different kind of injury. So the x-ray, it seems, according to Dr. Moore, that is consistent with a crush injury, which couldn't have come from a cut or, example, a bottle, right? This is what he's saying. Now, if we are to take into account that this doctor never actually saw Johnny's finger when he was injured, this doctor never saw anything around the scene at the time of his injury, and also this doctor is basing his testimony on the x-ray and statements and descriptions, I mean, it kind of, I actually got scared when he was on the stand during direct examination, and I thought to myself, hold on a second, what if maybe, let's just give this doctor the benefit of the doubt, and let's just give Amber Heard's story the benefit of the doubt, and let's just think for a moment that, okay, perhaps she didn't sever his finger, although we have her confession in audio recordings. So I'm not sure what audio recordings this doctor revised, but we have her confession where she clearly stated that she did this to Johnny's finger. So yeah, that's one. Then the second thing is that according to different statements and depositions and so on and so forth, the vodka bottle didn't come from the top. The doctor is also basing his testimony on the assumption that the object landed on Johnny's hand in a straight trajectory without changing any angle from a certain distance. However, this doctor, he never made any reconstruction in terms of how this injury could happen, or in terms of, the testimony, the deposition of Johnny describing how the injury happened. There was never any reconstruction made of the actual scene. A computer, generated one, obviously not a real one with someone severing their finger, but a computer generated one. So there wasn't anything like that. Now the doctor is explaining that if Johnny's injury would have happened from a vodka bottle, the bottle then would have cut the top of his finger off, and this would cause damage to his fingernail as well, hematoma as the doctor called it. So you'd have basically bruising under your fingernail if the cut would come from the vodka bottle. Yeah, so that's why it would cause bruising on the fingernail, because, theoretically, the vodka bottle would land on the fingernail as well, causing bruising and then severing the finger. So, because Johnny Depp didn't have bruising under his fingernail, that meant for Dr. Moore that the injury couldn't have possibly come from a vodka bottle. So that was most of, long story short, about during the direct examination. Now, we have to get to the cross-examination, because oh my god, you guys, oh my god, Camille Vasquez, she went again and she did the cross-examination of Dr. Moore, and oh my god, again, she nailed it, she killed it completely with a smile on her face. being all the time very professional and very polite. She made a few very good points, which I was really happy to hear that she's making. So basically, by the end of the cross-examination, Dr. Moore couldn't definitively say that the vodka bottle caused Johnny Depp's injury or something else caused Johnny Depp's injury. So it's inconclusive either way. There is no way to tell that the bottle did cause the injury or the bottle didn't cause the injury, or he couldn't even say, the doctor couldn't even say what object would have caused that injury. So basically, the testimony, the way that Camille conducted the cross-examination, it kind of takes you through the whole process of you figuring out the whole conclusion. She's not giving you the conclusion, but from her questioning and the path that her questioning takes, by the end of it you reach your own conclusion from the questions that she puts, which is just brilliant and amazing in my opinion, because it's different when somebody else is telling you their conclusion, and it's different when you get to your own conclusion after some questioning and answering. So basically, Camille Vasquez is saying, okay, so even if you say that it's a crush injury, let's just say it's a crush injury, okay? So even with a crush injury, you as a doctor, you say that a crush injury is caused by an object. Therefore, the vodka bottle is an object. So then the vodka bottle could have caused the finger injury. And again, Camille Vasquez also showed some photos of the scene. In the bar area, in the corner on the floor, there is a crushed bottle, and the finger was found close to the crushed vodka bottle. So Dr. Moore didn't even revise these photos, and he said so in his testimony on the stand. He didn't revise these photos. However, there is a shattered vodka bottle on the floor, and close to it is Johnny's severed finger in a tissue. And not only that, but around that area on the floor you can see blood drops from his injury, from after his injury. So I think that during this cross-examination, Camille Vasquez managed to discredit his findings, because he only theorized of what could have happened, and he only gave his opinion from, like I mentioned previously, various things like the positions, Johnny's description of how the injury happened and these kind of things. He never realistically and really personally saw Johnny Depp's finger and his injury. So from this point of view, although at the beginning during direct examination I was a bit worried that it will affect Johnny Depp's case, after the cross-examination there is no doubt in my mind that that doctor's testimony on the stand doesn't really hold a real value in terms of how the jury will see it, because at the end of the day, after the cross-examination, the doctor's report was inconclusive in the sense that he couldn't say with certainty, or he couldn't even speculate what caused Johnny Depp's finger injury. Therefore, we can't say that Johnny Depp lied when he described how the injury happened. So, on the realm of probabilities here, let's think about the scale, the scale. On the realm of probabilities, his testimony was not helping Amber Heard's side, and I think that his testimony didn't really affect Johnny Depp's side. So again, we are seeing witnesses like the previous witnesses, which I'm going to cover in my next video. Again, we are seeing witnesses from Amber Heard's side which are not actually helping Amber Heard's side, and these lawyers, they are really and realistically wasting their time with these witnesses, because at the end of the day it doesn't really help Amber at all. And I'm quite sure, and well, it's not that I'm quite sure, and I know for a fact that before this trial there were depositions of all these witnesses, questions were being asked, so lawyers, they had time to prepare. So when you are a lawyer, you don't ask, in my opinion, you don't ask open-ended questions. You ask questions where you already know the answer to, so as to not give the witness any any kind of window to say what you don't expect them to say, right? So basically you don't ask questions open-ended. You don't give that witness the opportunity to expand in terms of you not being able to predict anymore what they will be saying, right? So yeah, that's kind of, and I have to say, guys, I have to say again, I'm seeing again Camille Vasquez during cross-examination, and she's killing it there. And Amber Heard's lawyers, they have no basis for objections, for nothing. We are seeing Elaine over and over and over again trying to object. There's no basis on that. The difference between Elaine and Camille, in my honest opinion, is that Camille already learned Elaine's behavior and Elaine's strategy and the way that she's forming the questions. And Camille, in learning that, left Elaine exposed in terms of the way that she's asking the questions. Camille already learned her behavior there as a lawyer. Camille is using that against her. Elaine is not quite catching up, is she? Because if she would be catching up, then they would change the way that they ask the questions without allowing for any space for objections. This is how I see it. But they don't learn how Camille is doing, and they don't learn to ask the questions differently. Whereas Camille did her lesson, Johnny Depp's team did their lesson, they learned everything, they learned the behavior and the strategy and the style that Amber Heard's lawyers are using, and that's why and that's how they always object, because of the way that Amber Heard's lawyers are asking the questions. And they are not catching up to it. And we've seen during Amber Heard's cross-examination with Camille Vasquez just how Camille Vasquez is doing and what her strategy is. So basically she's going to make you as the viewer and as the jury reach your conclusion from the questions that she's asking without giving Amber Heard any space to go and build up the story. So it's not basically giving her any open-ended questions. It's mostly usually yes or no question. Amber Heard goes off the rail, yeah, she does go all the time, but Camille Vasquez is always trying to stop her and manages to do that quite successfully, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, so again, I think that Johnny Depp's lawyers are much more capable than Amber Heard's lawyers, and I think that at this point Johnny Depp's lawyers, if they would be Amber Heard's lawyers, they would probably kill Johnny's side. I am not sure, guys, but this is just the way I see it from watching the trial and from watching the behavior of the lawyers in the courtroom. So yeah, again, there is another thing. Elaine keeps arguing with the judge over the objection and over the sustained objection of the judge, which again comes across as very unprofessional, because once the judge is, that's it, objection sustained, objection overruled, that's it, you keep quiet as a lawyer. It's very unrespectful, and also it's rude. I think it's rude. If Camille gets an objection and the judge sustains the objection, that's it, she's not arguing anymore. That's it. She's very nice, she's very polite, all smiley, all everything.
Dr. Moore, based on your analysis, did Mr. Depp's finger injury happen as a result of a vodka bottle being thrown at him?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I'm sorry.
No.
And what is the basis for that opinion?
Well, the medical data is inconclusive. It's not consistent with what we see in the described injury pattern or in the clinical photographs. And there are several elements. There's the description was of the hand being flat on a bar and the bottle crushing the finger from the top. But looking at the images, there's really no significant injury to the dorsum of the finger, and to create the type of injury with that type of a crush injury, we would anticipate both injury to the fingernail and other parts of the finger. So I believe that with the mechanism described, that if the bottle struck the nail, there would have certainly been an injury to the nail bed, and in order for the soft tissue injury to be created by that mechanism, there would have almost certainly been tissue loss on the top of the finger as well.
Does Mr. Depp's description of what happened line up with the undisputed photographic evidence that you've reviewed?
No.
And in your decades of practice, when you see a comminuted fracture like this, what are some things that have typically caused it?
So crush mechanisms could be slammed in a drawer, caught between two logs in the fireplace, car door, sliding glass door. Those are all any mechanism that squeezes the finger between two hard opposing surfaces could create this type of injury.
In the statements of Mr. Depp that you reviewed, how did he describe what happened to the alleged bottle when it hit the bar?
I believe he said it exploded, shattered.
If a bottle had exploded near his finger in the way that he alleges, what would you expect to see in the documents that you have reviewed?
Well, I think that the physicians did a good job of documenting the presentation, the appearance of the wound. They did not document the presence of any glass shards, and there were no other associated injuries elsewhere on the hand.
In your decades of practice, have you ever seen an injury associated with a glass explosion that was focused on the end of a single finger in the way Mr. Depp describes?
Well, not consistent with the clinical images and the findings in this case, no.
Have you ever seen an injury associated with an alleged glass explosion where no other glass was found on any part of the patient's body or clothing or anything?
No.
And because there's been talk of a glass explosion, Dr. Moore, there's seems to have been a suggestion that somehow glass may have sliced off the end of Mr. Depp's finger. Is that what's going on here?
No, this wound doesn't really appear to be a sharp glass laceration.
Isn't it true, Dr. Moore, that when Mr. Depp did the demonstration in his deposition, he showed that his fingers were hanging over the bar?
Well, even hanging over the bar, it still leaves the dorsum of the hand or the nail vulnerable.
That's not my question, Dr. Moore. My question is, isn't it true that Mr. Depp said his fingers were not laying flat on a table, they were hanging over the bar?
Yes.
Isn't it true that Mr. Depp also testified that the bottle came from an off angle?
Yes.
Okay. And you consider that in rendering your opinions today, correct?
Yes, I believe he stated that it came from between 6 and 10 feet. I think it was I think he demonstrated it was off to his right. I can't recall specifically, but it was off angle, yes.
Okay. So it didn't come from the top, as you previously testified just a few minutes ago, correct?
Well, no, it would have struck the top of the finger, but it may have been slightly off angle in its approach based on the description.
A bottle is a foreign object, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't rule out that the injury to Mr. Depp's finger was caused by a vodka bottle, correct?
Well, based on the injury pattern, I can say that the described mechanism of injury is inconsistent with medical findings.
Right. But because a vodka bottle is a foreign object, you can't rule out that a vodka bottle is what caused Mr. Depp's injury.
Well, I can't rule out that a vodka bottle caused the injury, but I can rule out that it was caused in the manner described in his testimony.
So from my point of view, from yesterday's day in the trial, with the witnesses on the stand, Dr. Moore was kind of discredited because in the end he can't really say that the injury wasn't caused by the vodka bottle. Now we had, oh my god, this is another Amber Heard situation. We had Dr. Spiegel on the stand. Dr. Spiegel, a witness for Amber Heard's side. Now, as soon as I saw this guy on the stand, guys, I'm sorry, it's just me, the way I saw him. He was just being so weird on the stand from the get-go. So, Dr. Spiegel is a psychiatrist, and he treats and alcohol addicts on a daily basis in his practice. He treated 50%, so 50% of his practice patients were patients whom he treated with trauma, and out of those 50% of the patients with trauma, 25% of the trauma related was from a DV relationship. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. So he's been working as a psychiatrist for a very long time. He's had a lot of degrees, did research, he wrote books, he wrote articles, he was part of some books, and you know, all these kind of things. So a professional, because this is what they are trying to portray, so they can get him as an expert witness. So they were trying to get him as an expert witness in addiction and also in DV, and how that addiction transfers into DV, and you know, the risk behaviors associated. So overall in his practice, and also when he's on call at the hospital, 5 or 10% of the patients that he's treating are also perpetrators of DV. So from the beginning, you guys, I mean, I don't know, he's a psychiatrist, he's been in the field for a long time, and I don't mean to say it in a bad way, but in a way, I was thinking to myself, I'm just telling you this like you'd be sitting next to me and I will have a conversation with you, like friend to friend conversation. When I saw the psychiatrist, I was thinking to myself, oh God, yeah, now it makes sense that he works as a psychiatrist, because he kind of takes his patients, you know, issues, if you will. I don't even know how to say, because I'm not trying to sound rude, I'm not trying to discredit him in any way, I'm just saying the feeling that I got from him being on the stand, and that was just at the beginning of him being on the stand. So as we move forward, it gets even worse and it gets even more ridiculous, and it turns again into a circus. I mean, it's been a circus, but now it's like the top of the circus. I don't even know how to describe it. But anyway, it's like when, you know, when Einstein, he was so smart and so clever, and he was a scientist and all these kind of things, Einstein, and he was brilliant in his ways, and he was, yeah, his IQ was, you know, over the average. However, he was crazy, yeah? This is what people say. So he had some disorders there. So, yeah, kind of like Einstein. I don't know how else to describe it so you guys can understand. I'm not trying to be mean or disrespectful or diminish any professional qualifications or anyone with mental disorders, but that was the impression I got from him. You work with patients with challenges, you become challenged as well in a way. Does it make sense? Even when he was on the stand and when he was asked to describe and to say about all his qualifications, I felt like he was always having to be prompted by Elaine of what to say, what's his other qualification, what is he a member of, what papers he wrote, what articles he wrote. So it was kind of like she was reminding him of his qualifications basically, which is a bit weird. I know that there was a point where Amber Heard's side was objecting to him being brought in as an expert witness on intimate partner violence as well, but I'm not sure what happened with that objection because I didn't quite catch what the judge was saying. But I think that he was accepted as an expert witness in intimate partner violence as well. But anyway, you know, when I watched his testimony, I felt like there should have been more objections there from Johnny Depp's side. However, I think that they have a strategy with this. I think that because they know that the time that Amber Heard's team side time is so short, they are not going to object on purpose because they kind of want to drag it out so that the Amber Heard side lose even more time. Because this psychiatrist, guys, during cross-examination, there could have been so many times when the cross-examination just ended completely, but no, it didn't, and I felt like it was Johnny Depp's side, they just kept on going with the cross-examination just so it kind of stretches. Now this psychiatrist, Dr. Spiegel, he said that because Johnny Depp has a substance use disorder, he is the perpetrator of intimate partner violence. He also said that Johnny Depp has narcissistic traits behavior. Now, I don't know how Johnny Depp has narcissistic traits behavior because from what I've observed of him, I didn't see him having any narcissistic behavior. Not in the audio recordings, not when he was on the stand, not when he was during his deposition. not when he was in the public eye. I didn't see any traits of him having narcissistic behavior. Now I don't know where Dr. Spiegel took this from, but I'm gonna tell you guys, Dr. Spiegel based his expert opinion on the depositions, particularly on Johnny Depp's behavior during depositions, on the way that he retells the story, on the way that he acts on the stand, on the way that he acts in the public eye, on the way that he acts on a movie set, on the way that he acts as a character in a movie set, Jack Sparrow for example. Oh yes, Dr. Spiegel based his expert opinion on Jack Sparrow as well. Can you just believe that? I was beyond belief when I heard what Dr. Spiegel said and how he based his expert opinion. He also based his expert opinion on medical reports, including on what Amber Heard said Johnny Depp's behavior was. It's worth noting that Dr. Spiegel never saw Johnny Depp. He never examined Johnny Depp. He based his testimony on everything else apart from physically even having a conversation face to face with Johnny Depp. So Dr. Spiegel said that Johnny Depp has cognitive problems because of his substance and alcohol use. And he based these cognitive issues of Johnny on a testing that it was performed on him by his psychiatrist, who took the stand as well, who I'm going to touch a bit later on in a different video with the other witnesses. So because Johnny Depp didn't remember 3 words in the space of 5 minutes in that test, that meant that Johnny Depp is processing much more slower than a person his age would. Now this I didn't only find offensive, I found it rude, and I also found it based on nothing really, because it was just a test and Dr. Spiegel didn't take anything else into account. One. Second of all, he based this on Captain Jack Sparrow and on Johnny Depp wearing a headpiece whilst filming on the set. And Dr. Spiegel said that Johnny Depp was wearing a headpiece because he was fed the lines for his movie, because he just couldn't remember and memorize the lines because of the cognitive problems that he has because of the alcohol and substance use. So you get where he's trying to go with this. Now, being fed the lines, he got this from Amber Heard. He didn't get this from any witnesses on the stand. He didn't get this from any deposition. He didn't get this from any photo, from any video. It was purely, he got it purely from Amber Heard herself, that Johnny was fed lines. So that's the reason why he said that Johnny has cognitive problems. And he also said that during Johnny Depp being on the stand, he took much longer than someone else, typically his age, to process the question being asked and to answer. And he said that he observed Johnny Depp's deposition during the cross-examination with Elaine, when she asked the question and she had to keep on prompting Johnny Depp to actually answer her question. So this is what the doctor is basing his cognitive problems of Johnny's on Captain Jack Sparrow and on Johnny not remembering 3 words in 5 minutes. Yes, that's an expert opinion. So according to Dr. Spiegel's expert opinion, he also mentions that Johnny Depp has cognitive problems, he has concentration problems, he has focus problems, attention span problems, because of the addictions, because of his addictions. Because of his addictions and because he saw photos of Johnny Depp being passed out drunk, and therefore he says that people who use alcohol, they normally have blackouts, and he saw photos of Johnny Depp having blackouts, having been passed out, and he also saw photo of Johnny Depp with his own vomit whilst asleep. You remember the ice cream photo where Johnny was, asleep, and Amber took a photo and Johnny had an ice cream in his hand and he got spilled all over Johnny. So Dr. Spiegel said that he was told this photo was actually Johnny Depp with his own vomit. So he's basing his expert opinion on something which is not even correct. One thing. Another thing is, passed out, he could have been dozing off, like after he was tired. He could have been passing out because he was, high. He could have been passing out because he was taking, sleep aid medicine. He could have been passing out from anything and everything. And again, passing out is a term that Amber uses. And throughout witnesses on Amber Heard's side, I keep hearing the same terms that Amber is using. Passing out. He's passed out. The monster, he's a monster. The different sides of Johnny the addict, Johnny the opiate, Johnny this, Johnny that. And it actually highlights, or it rings of Amber Heard, if I'm honest with you, in all of this testimony from the witnesses. But we will touch on that later on in a different video, when I'm going to be talking only about the witnesses from Amber Heard's side from last week. So I got the feeling, again, I have to say that that during Dr. Spiegel's testimony, during the direct examination, I kind of got the sense that it might affect Johnny Depp, just like with Dr. Moore, because of the way that this Dr. Spiegel was explaining things. Now, it got to the point where I felt like I was really and honestly struggling to sit there and watch him during direct examination, because he just seemed to be dragging, and he just seemed to be like a professor lecturing to his students, or like a professor teaching students about psychology and psychiatry in general, and about how patients, should be like. It didn't feel to me like he is a witness on the stand. It felt to me like I'm being lectured by a professor. Honestly, I found it so boring. I found it so typical of how you would teach your student if they are looking to go into the field of psychiatry, right? But not in the sense that you are talking about patients and you are talking about experiences of patients, if you get what I mean. So by the end of it, when he's asked a question by Elaine, by the end of him replying to that question, I got nothing of essence from that question. I got just vague answering, going around in general descriptions and general terms, but there was nothing of essence around Johnny and around Johnny's behavior. And for me, he lost the credibility when he said that he based his expert opinion on Captain Jack Sparrow and how Johnny behaves in the public eye during press conferences, during outings, during interviews and these kind of things. So from me as a viewer, that kind of lost his credibility. And then we got to the stage where he's talking about DV correlation with alcohol and his cognitive behavior issues, right? So one of the cognitive behavior issue was him acting out in violence because of his jealousy. So again, the Dr. Spiegel is basing this on the audio tapes that he's heard, and also on various, testimonies, including Amber Heard's. So he's saying that in people with alcohol use problems and drug use problems, it's a higher chance, a higher possibility that they will be the aggressor in a DV relationship, right? So Johnny, because he was alcohol, he was drugs, and he's got violent and jealous behavior. According to Dr. Spiegel, he is the perpetrator of DV against Amber Heard. And yeah, Dr. Spiegel also went even further to mention that whilst watching Johnny Depp's deposition, he said that he had delay in processing speed, he had disjointed statements, he had cognitive issues that he shouldn't have at his age, and he thinks that this is because of his alcohol and drug abuse. So yeah, we are going, typically what Amber Heard's team is trying to achieve here is to show that Johnny Depp is an alcoholic, Johnny Depp is a drug abuser, therefore Johnny Depp is the aggressor of DV. Again, Johnny Depp never kept this hidden. He said that he has problems with alcohol, he said that he has problems with drugs, he said that he's jealous, and again, the jealousy thing, I guess it depends on how you look at it, because if or the controlling behavior. Because if, for example, I am going somewhere outside and my husband is asking me, where are you going, who are you going with, or for how long you will be out, I don't take it as jealousy or controlling behavior. I take it as my husband being genuinely concerned and wanting to know where I'm going in case of any emergency, right? Because you are in a relationship, so you need to know what your spouse is doing, right? It's the same thing with your kids. You need to know if your kids are older, you need to know where your kids are, whom they are with. You need to know that they can be reached on the phone. You need to know where they are going, because in case of an emergency, God knows what can happen. Then you know exactly where they are when they say they are where they are. Does it make sense? Amber Heard is taking this as controlling behavior. Amber Heard is taking this as jealousy. I am not taking this as controlling behavior. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the dynamic of my family. But I'm not taking this as controlling behavior. And believe me, guys, and trust me, I've been in DV relationship and I know what jealousy and controlling behavior looks like. And it looks like nothing like Johnny, especially the controlling behavior. Yes, you can argue that he's a jealous person, but then so many people are jealous and they are not aggressors of DV in a relationship. But Dr. Spiegel is trying to point out all these things because Johnny Depp is all these things. Then, of course, he is the perpetrator of DV in the relationship. Now, there is a point where I'm going to say, just like it damaged Amber Heard during Dr. Don Hughes' testimony on the stand, this testimony of Dr. Spiegel actually, in my eyes, damaged Amber Heard. And yes, damaged Amber Heard. It didn't really help her because Dr. Spiegel is saying that Johnny Depp has a history of self-harming behavior, right? He has also got a history of burning behavior, you know, the cigarette on the face, which Amber Heard alleges he did it to himself. And also he has cluster B personality traits of someone being a perpetrator of DV, right? One of the personality traits he says is the narcissistic trait, if you will. However, on the cluster B behaviors, apart from the narcissistic traits behavior, there is also the personality disorder behavior. Yes, which to me is very big in terms of being coincidental with what Dr. Curry said about Amber and about her personality disorders. So, if we are looking at this from everything that we know so far, from Johnny Depp, from Amber Heard, from hearing, listening to the audio tapes, reading everything, listening to the depositions, witness statements, even the police officers who went on the scene at the times that they were called, the way that Dr. Spiegel describes the perpetrator of DV is exactly the way that we have seen Amber Heard behave. This is from what I'm seeing. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but this is what I'm seeing. Narcissistic behavior, he's attributing this to Johnny. Amber Heard, in my view, 100% she has narcissistic behavior. Then she has a personality disorder being diagnosed by Dr. Curry. That's a cluster B behavior for perpetrators of DV. She's jealous. She always wants attention. She has a history of self-harm. Remember the cuts on her hand? She has a history of self-harm. And also she is using, she also has substance use. Although she keeps saying that she does have substance use. So we know that also she confessed to hitting Johnny Depp. Also, she's been gaslighting Johnny Depp. We've heard from the audio recordings by now. Everybody knows that by now. So I think that what Dr. Spiegel is describing Johnny Depp has is kind of mirroring. And it's actually what Amber Heard says, what Amber Heard has. But obviously, the expert witness is paid by Amber Heard's side. So he is not the one to bring issues to Amber Heard. He is rather the one to bring issues to Johnny Depp. And yeah, I mean, Dr. Spiegel is also saying that Johnny used Seroquel, and that's a sleeping aid, and actually that's an antipsychotic. But we have to remember that there is an audio after the Australia aftermath, you know, the Australia fight, the aftermath, and the audio recording where Dr. Kipper instructed Nurse Debbie Lloyd to give Amber Heard Seroquel and a higher dose than she typically takes. So Amber Heard is taking Seroquel as well. Now Johnny Depp can be taking Seroquel according to Dr. Spiegel either as an aid for sleeping or because of his addiction issues. So there are this kind of thing. So basically this is more or less, you know, what was covered with Dr. Spiegel.
Or at least had some of them.
Thank you, Dr. Spiegel. What, if any, correlation is there between domestic abuse, heavy alcohol abuse, and cognitive disorders?
So, the risk factors, if you would, for intimate partner violence, okay, and there are probably many of them, I don't have time to go over all of them, but the ones in particular, characters in particular, are one, having someone in the relationship who is jealous or suspicious. Two, having someone who has a higher than average acceptance of violence ideations. Three, someone who has rapid and extreme mood shifts. Four, someone who has limited self-control. One of the roles of cognition, one of the roles of our brain, is to prevent inappropriate behaviors and acting out on thoughts. We all get angry at people. That's human. We all get angry at people. We all think things about people. The difference is when our brains are intact and working well, most of us don't act them out, okay? Most of us do not act them out. So that's because your frontal lobe and other parts of the brain are involved in making sure these negative thoughts don't get acted on, okay? So when you have the effects of alcohol acutely, it causes disinhibition, which means you are, by definition, losing control and having rapid mood swings. Two, you are affecting parts of the brain that are involved in what we call social processing cues. So you no longer can interpret what's in front of you that is, I would say, right or wrong, or what I should act on and what I shouldn't act on. So we act on them, even though sober, and I've seen it with Mr. Depp's record evidence, I've seen it clinically. Sober, we can contain that. We can contain that. But when you have these mixtures together, knowing, by the way, that about 40 up to 60% of intimate partner violence is done under the influence of alcohol and or substance use disorders, okay? Knowing that treating it gets it better, improves, I'm not saying it removes it, but improves it. Hearing from Mr. Depp's own text to Dr. Kipper that he was better with that things are going better, will show you that given those confluence of factors, given them all lining up, the risk factors, combined with something that when any of us use to a certain amount, if we're novice at it, it'll be a lot less. If we're more experienced and have more tolerance and dependence, it's going to take a lot more. But inevitably, will make us disinhibited and will make us act out. And acting out could be done in a lot of different ways in intimate partner violence, okay? With also remembering, control is the end game of intimate partner violence. So that's how they basically interact in a nutshell. Now,
as I said, I felt it's going to hurt Johnny Depp's case until we got to the cross-examination. Now, I'm sorry guys, I can't remember the name of the lawyer who did the cross-examination, but we got to the cross-examination. And at the beginning of the cross-examination, I felt like this lawyer is too slow and he's just too soft and he's just, you know, I didn't like him. I honestly didn't like him, but during cross-examination, as time went on, I understood and I realized why the lawyer was behaving just the way that he did. You guys, cross-examination, in my eyes, completely destroyed Dr. Spiegel's credibility because of his unprofessional behavior on the stand. And I can say that to me, he seemed like a hostile witness. Yes, he seemed like a hostile witness because he started arguing with Johnny Depp's lawyer during cross-examination. He was avoiding the questions, he was avoiding the answers to the questions, and he started questioning the lawyer for Johnny Depp's side, the lawyer doing the cross-examination, to the point where even the judge had to tell him that he needs to answer questions. He was behaving unprofessional, and as far as I know, if Johnny Depp's lawyers would have asked the judge to dismiss his testimony as a hostile witness, his testimony could have been dismissed, but I don't think that Johnny Depp's lawyers asked that, or I'm not aware of that anyway. But guys, he was completely destroyed during cross-examination because he completely lost his temper. He lost it. He seemed to me like a person who didn't like his professionalism to be criticized. And there were so many points that Johnny Depp's lawyers brought forward in terms of him and how he based his expert opinion, including the basis of Captain Jack Sparrow's behavior, including the earpiece in his ear, and his lines were being fed to him. He was even asked where he got that from, because there's nowhere on the record about his lines being fed. He was also asked about personality disorder, including borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder. And I have to tell you guys that these disorders are cluster B behaviors of a perpetrator of DV. So yeah, that kind of closed the deal for me. His behavior actually closed the deal for me, as I think he lost his credibility completely because of the behavior on the stand. He couldn't take questions from Johnny Depp's side during cross-examination. He couldn't take questions which criticized his work and his professionalism. He couldn't take questions which contradicted his own statements. So he was very rude on the stand. He was arguing with Johnny Depp's lawyer. So I guess that should tell you everything.
Okay. All right. You indicated in your opinion today that you thought, well, why don't we move a little differently? Are you a member of the American Medical Association?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what the ethical rule of the American Medical Association is relative to doing clinical diagnoses about individuals you've never talked to.
So you're saying in terms of doing expert witness evaluations, under that rubric, right?
I'm just asking you, do you know the AMA's rule?
You're saying the AMA's ruling under the rubric of not doing evaluation with somebody you did not see, and I'm questioning, I'm asking, so you are talking about expert witness testimony?
No, I'm talking about, do you know the rule?
I'm not a member of the AMA, so I
Okay,
don't
great.
read the rule.
We can move on. You don't know the rule.
Okay.
All right. You rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's purported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you use as a baseline?
A baseline for processing speed?
Yeah, for analyzing Mr. Depp before you watched his deposition.
What do I use a baseline for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my baseline would probably be how I've seen him interact in public. How I've seen him interact with others. I've seen him interact in media. I've seen him interact and his process speed is certainly not slow. I've seen him do commercials. His process speed was not slow.
At deposition, didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony here?
What I said was I've seen Mr. Depp do apology ads. I remember he did an apology ad with Bad Dog with no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying
Let me ask you about pirates, though. You compared pirates to the depositions given in this case.
Then I apologize for what I said. Then I misspoke.
You misspoke? You didn't make the comparison?
Right now, just a second ago? Just a second ago, I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize, I misspoke.
Okay. Because you know you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you can, but as an aside, you can judge someone's processing speed at any time. Like I'm judging yours right now, you're judging mine. We all judge processing speed as a baseline because of what we know about each other. I would say your processing speed right now is not slow. So, I mean, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah. But no, any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
All right. You made a very kind admission, I think, early on in your deposition, that you're not claiming to be a better actor than Mr. Depp. That's correct, isn't it?
100%.
All right. But with respect to acting, you know that actors actually rehearse for their parts and work on the language, diction, timing of their dialogue as part of that rehearsal?
If you say that, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes on. I can't tell you. I have no idea what goes on in acting.
Okay, but you don't know enough about acting to know whether actors rehearse?
Sir, I am not an expert in acting. I have no idea what an actor does.
Okay. That this Goldwater rule applies to, it's professional opinions.
So again, I will reiterate that would come down to essentially nullifying witness testimony, expert witness testimony, without direct evaluation. And as we know, it didn't happen. But regardless of that, the whole expert witness testimony thing would be basically rendered null and void.
The rule, in fact, contemplates that issue, doesn't it, sir?
Again, I'm just telling you the answer to the question. When you're reading me those statements, I'm telling you the response by the other side, who publishes also, is that if that was the case, there could be no expert witness testimony in the courtroom.
Psychiatrists are ethically prohibited from evaluating individuals without permission or other authorization, such as a court order. That's the rule, right?
Again, if you're reading that, then I have to believe you're not misrepresenting it. And I would come back to, again, then this whole thing on expert, we might as well get rid of all the expert witnesses we've had throughout all of time for court proceedings. Because what you're saying is unless a court orders it, and that's what you just said, or the APA said, then therefore expert witnesses cannot do an evaluation based on an observation of the medical records. Insurance companies cannot do evaluations solely based on the medical records where their doctors rendering professional opinions. So at the end of the day, you are essentially saying that unless someone has directly evaluated it, this whole medical system we have, this whole legal system we have, is null and void.
I'm not saying...
No, yes, you are, sir. No, you are.
Well, give me a second, and I'll give you more than a second. What I'm saying, and what I am reading to you, is a rule by your organization that takes into account that there could be court orders that would permit the exact kind of evaluation that you say I'm eliminating.
And I think we're going in circles because I think I just said that means expert witness testimony would not be allowed, and the branch of forensic psychiatry would be especially hindered. And we know the branch of forensic psychiatry does not prohibit that. So I am a member of the APA. That doesn't necessarily mean every single thing they put in there, everybody has to uncategorically agree with, because clearly that's not the case.
Did you agree in your deposition that the professional opinions you rendered were inconsistent with the Goldwater rule?
Yeah, my first was inconsistent. If we're saying that if the Goldwater rule says, and I very much said that during deposition, that the Goldwater rule was made for presidents and public figures such as that, but regardless of that, because that's what it was made for. It's not made for Hollywood, but I'll even take that Mr. Depp's a public figure. What I'm saying to you is that the Goldwater rules say we cannot do any expert witness testimony in our field. That is exactly what the Goldwater rule is saying based on exactly what you read. And I'm just telling you what you are saying that rule encompasses.
What I'm asking you, sir, is did you comply with the ethical requirements of the APA when rendering the professional opinions that you've rendered today?
It is a requirement of the APA. It is not the requirement of the APA. Secondarily,
so the answer is no.
Secondarily, again, in order to not, we wasted our whole morning because there was an expert witness before me. There's an expert witnesses everyone brought in. So all I'm saying to you, that means the whole field of medical legal law is corrupt and unethical for engaging in an act that the APA clearly says we should not do. So if you're saying that, then the answer is yes, I'm agreeing with that statement.
You're agreeing that the APA would deem your testimony and your professional opinions rendered unethical.
I am saying you are saying that I'm an expert witness. I am saying as an expert witness and solely as an expert witness, that guideline is permitting that from occurring. I would say then that the whole field of expert witness testimony, again, would be disavowed by what you are quoting in the Goldwater rule, and we know that's not the case, because if it was, we would not be allowed to do it.
And you said the rule was for presidents, right? And
that was initially for presidents, yes.
But, and the name of the rule came from that. But the rule says it is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual. That's right, sir. It's not just presidents, it's not public figures, it's individuals.
Funny, it was named after according to your logic, if you don't put something in the title, it's not true. That's what you told me this morning, I believe, at my intimate partner violence. So what I would say to you then, sir, is that if you say this about an individual, again, any court would have to render an expert witness testimony invalid. Any doctor that reviews charts would have to render it invalid. I can go on the list of docs that do not see or interview patients directly, and that's a violation. So basically, you are saying that unless you do a direct clinical evaluation, then all of the field of forensic psychiatry and all of managed care is doing an unethical violation because we are not seeing the presence. We deny patients medications all the time without seeing them. We deny patients treatments, unfortunately, without seeing them. And I'm on the receiving end of that. So the answer to your question, again, unless you are saying to me that all of this is unethical, which is what you are saying. This is how I'm interpreting what you are saying to me. That unless you do the evaluation directly yourself, therefore, it cannot be considered ethical. And I'm telling you how that's applicable to not just expert law, but also managed care. It's applicable to multiple branches of medicine. Hospital duration of hospitalization stay, they get evaluated. So tell me where you want me to end this.
Well, why don't we talk about what you just testified to? Because I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you whether, under this rubric, under this principle of medical ethics, have you acted unethically? Yes or no?
No. As an expert witness, I have not acted unethically. And if you want the jury to believe that expert witnesses are unethical, then I guess that's for them to decide.
Yes or no,
for them
sir.
to decide.
You said no. Let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Right? Psychiatric diagnosis occurs in the context of an evaluation based on thorough history-taking examination and, where applicable, collated or collateral information. You'll agree with that?
I believe I said that earlier, yes.
Yeah. And it's a departure from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination and without conducting an evaluation in accordance with the standards of psychiatric practice, correct?
Well, again, by the way, for the record, intimate partner violence is not a psychiatric diagnosis. I'll start with that. Substance usage by themselves is not a psychiatric diagnosis. If you want to cut to the chase, psychiatric use is not a diagnosis of that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. Ergo, I am basically commenting on the things that were brought to me, which are not diagnosis. But an evaluation, if I was going to treat a patient or anyone here, those are the steps I would take.
We, I think, started with the notion that this rule applies broader than diagnoses. It applies to professional opinions.
I believe you just
rendered
quoted
professional opinions relative to narcissistic personality traits, haven't you, sir? Relative to Mr. Depp.
Again, I believe you just commented on what it takes to do in a psychiatric evaluation to establish a diagnosis. I'm almost certain that's what you said. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't say that, but I'm sure you did. And therefore, what I'm saying is neither IPV, nor substance usage, nor narcissistic personality traits a psychiatric diagnosis. And then under the rubric of expert witness testimony, you are saying I acted unethically on the rubric of expert witness testimony. So if you, sir, would like to proceed that expert witnesses are unethical, based on that, I am not going to sit here and disagree with you and waste everyone's time. I think it's fairly obvious. So thank you. Go ahead. These were your words. I'm just saying them back how they're interpreted.
Okay. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can...
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that. Getting into it.
You need to just answer the questions,
Okay.
Dr. Spiegel.
You are not rendering any diagnosis whatsoever of Mr. Depp today or ever.
No, I probably would say to you that certainly I would not say narcissistic personalities, or I would say traits. Certainly from what I have read, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. So the answer is no for that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. The answer is no. But if you want to tell me that substance use disorder is a psychiatric diagnosis, the answer is yes.
But that wasn't an issue, was it? Whether Mr. Depp used substances? I mean, you said you've gone through the record. That wasn't really an issue at this trial. He's said it from day one.
Oh, so you're saying he's already admitted to the diagnosis?
He's already admitted to the use of the substances.
Oh. Well, again, there's a difference between admitting to substance use and substance use disorder.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5 diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
Diagnostic personality, and you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder, have you?
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits which are characteristics of provisional diagnosis of, it's a provisional diagnosis of probably narcissistic personality disorder. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that.
Well, when you say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM-5 requires, in order to find that diagnosis, 5 of the 9 factors. Mm-hmm. And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis. You've just identified certain factors
that are criteria for the diagnosis.
Right. But you need 5 of 9 to get to the diagnosis. You've already told us that you didn't make a diagnosis. You're just identifying traits, correct?
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
Right.
And so by the end of the testimony, by the end of him being during cross-examination, Dr. Spiegel, I was thinking to myself, is there by any chance that lawyers actually do some research before cross-examining witnesses? They kind of do their research in terms of the witness behavior or the weak spots, if you will, of the witness before they start questioning the witness during cross-examination, kind of like a way of trying to find out what pushes their buttons. Because Johnny Depp's lawyer, although at the beginning of the cross-examination I said, oh my God, he's doing horrible. He's just too soft. He's just not cutting it. He's just not the right lawyer for the cross-examination. I completely 360 degrees changed my opinion towards the end, because I saw the way that he was conducting the cross-examination, the steps, the pattern. It kind of led Dr. Spiegel to the point of where he lost it. He lost his temper on the stand. So I think that Johnny Depp's lawyer, being so calm, speaking so slowly, and kind of not sounding rude, but also sounding a bit, you know, affecting the professionalism and all these kind of things, I think that this was strategically made from Johnny Depp's lawyer, because I got the feeling that he knew how to press the point to get him to lose his temper. And I think they did brilliantly. Although at the beginning of the cross-examination I'm like, no, I don't like this lawyer, please don't let this lawyer be the one. By the end of it I was like, oh my god, this lawyer, he completely nailed it. If not by what he based his expert opinion on, but on him losing the temper on the stand, that lost completely credibility from my point of view, and I think that the jury feels the same, because the public opinion definitely feels the same. So yeah, that lost credibility as well. And then we got to the last witness of the day, which was Catherine Arnold, and according to her, she's an entertainment industry consultant. So she basically is developing scripts, she is a film producer as well, she's getting the budget for movies, directing, or this kind of things. So basically she's an expert in the industry, if you will. So it seemed that she was a witness for both sides, for Johnny and Depp. So she was talking about Johnny Depp and how the op-ed impacted his career and his earning opportunities, and he was also talking about Amber Heard and how the statement from Waldman, Johnny Depp's lawyer, impacted her financially, therefore it was defamatory, and how her career was affected in the long run. Now, all is good, but we are basing here, all of her expert witness testimony on probabilities, and on what it should look like, and on what it should look like, the career trajectory should look like in 5 years time from now. Just like we are basing probabilities, statistical, mathematical probabilities, whatever, on hashtags, and what another witness for Amber Heard side said, which I'm gonna cover in another video. So Catherine is saying that Johnny's behavior started to interfere with his talent. So the way that she says it was that because Johnny started changing his behavior from maybe around 2010, because of his behavior changes, more use of alcohol, being late on set, being more argumentative, these kind of things, that this impacted his talent, in terms that producers or whoever was looking to hire him, they looked at his behavior on set and they didn't want to lose money with him because he was usually late, and so everybody else was late, and so they had to pay everybody else because he was late, and you know what I mean, so on and so forth. So basically Johnny Depp was the one who ruined his talent, not Amber Heard, and not the op-ed. And also she said that she was looking at different articles, at different events throughout a longer time span, and what happened around those events and how his career was affected by those events. She looked at articles, including one article from 2014 where apparently he was under the influence of alcohol at some Hollywood awards, and his talent manager at the time, she said that she received phone calls from organizer at this event, saying what's up with him, why is he behaving this way, he came drunk to the event, and so on and so forth. And this article obviously affected his career and how he's perceived and viewed in Hollywood. And Catherine is also saying that Pirates 5, they saw a decline in sales because of Johnny Depp's behavior on the set, because of him being late, because of him, not being sober, and these kind of things. So she's trying to point out that That's why Pirates 5 didn't perform so well at the box office, because of Johnny Depp's behavior. He had erratic behavior, he was abusing alcohol, he was abusing drugs, his lawsuits didn't help him at all, and these lawsuits over time affected his career because he was always in the public eye with a lawsuit or another, and there were always negative articles around him surrounding these lawsuits, including the UK trial lawsuit. Basically, this is what she's trying to say, that his own behavior affected his career and his potential earning, not the op-ed that Amber Heard wrote, because she's trying to point out and highlight the fact that his career was already affected before the op-ed was published, right? Now, she's also talking about the Mordecai Japan conference, where Johnny was supposed to show up and he didn't show up. Allegedly, he was asleep and that's why he didn't show up. Now, I'm not sure if I remember well if Amber was questioned about this, but I think that Amber Heard at one point, she was saying that they went to the Mordecai conference together. So I'm not exactly sure where this comes from, because I think that I've seen an interview with him, with Amber. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that into more depth. Catherine is also saying that the Brooks litigation also affected Johnny Depp's career significantly. Now, the Brooks litigation is, if you remember, we've seen in the media that Mr. Depp allegedly punched someone on the set, and this came into the press, like him having a violent behavior, and as such a lot of the big production companies such as Disney were looking at him differently, because Disney are family oriented and they don't particularly like someone with violent behavior or someone who calls all these bad names in text messages, like from the UK trial, the messages that were published. So this affected his behavior. Now, we already know that with the Brooks litigation, this was already debunked, because the person came forward saying that it was just a misunderstanding. He didn't actually punch anyone on the set. So this is basically the only instance where there is a public knowledge of a violent behavior, which was contested afterwards, because this person came forward saying that it was just a misunderstanding. So again, I don't know what she's basing this on, or how she's basing her opinion on this event when this was cleared, and how this affected Johnny's behavior. I don't know, in Johnny's career, I don't know. So she says that in 2017 there was a Hollywood Reporter article, and after this article, Pirates 5 performed even worse. So then there was also a Rolling Stone article about when Johnny Depp was spending money on wine and how much money he spends in a year, that he spends more than he makes. And then there were also emails that she reviewed between within Disney of Johnny being portrayed in the communications within Disney as being sad and depressed. Now again, guys, we can argue, and I'm going to keep arguing, and I'm going to keep on going with this, from Dr. Spiegel, from Catherine, from Dr. Moore, from all the witnesses that are saying about Johnny Depp and his substance lately being bigger and bigger, the substance use and the alcohol use being more and more frequent than it was previously. Now we also have communications, email communications within Disney, seeing Johnny as sad and depressed. Again, I'm gonna say, I don't believe Amber Heard is a victim of DV. I 100% believe that Johnny Depp is a victim of DV. Now, if you think about Johnny Depp as being a victim of DV, it would make more sense, even more sense, that throughout their relationship, he will get more sad, he would get more depressed, he wouldn't do the things that he used to do before, he would change his behavior, not to mention that he would, I am sure, 100%, he would increase his use of alcohol and substance, because it would be his only way of dealing with the situation as a victim of DV. If you already have a substance problem and alcohol problem, if you are also a victim of DV, your problem will increase significantly alongside with your behavior. And all I'm seeing from these witnesses is a gradual increase of behavior from Johnny, which is consistent with him being a victim of DV. More drugs, more alcohol, more erratic behavior, more irritability, more sad, more depressed. Just not himself. Just not himself. If you look at interviews, if you look at appearances in the public eye whilst he was in a relationship with Amber Heard, his spark is gone from his eyes. He's a completely different person. He looks just like a victim of DV, guys. He looks like a victim of DV, and I'm getting goosebumps because I am really frustrated at people who just don't believe him because he's a man. And oh my god, ooh, it just sends chills through my spine, honestly. It sends chills. So we know what Catherine said about Johnny Depp and how his behavior affected his career, and not the op-ed written by Amber Heard. And now she was also talking about how the Waldman statement in the Daily Mail article affected Amber Heard's career and how this was defamatory. So if you guys don't know, Amber Heard is defaming as well. She filed a countersuit against Johnny Depp for $100 million, saying that Waldman's statement in the Daily Mail article were said at the direction of Johnny Depp. Now we had his lawyer Waldman in a deposition as a witness, and we'll touch on that later in another video. So we did that. So again, yeah, this is what Catherine is trying to show, that Amber Heard, her career was deeply affected by the statements made by Johnny's lawyer Waldman in the Daily Mail article. So she's saying that Amber Heard, from the beginning of her career towards the Aquaman, she had a consistent growing career, right? She had a consistent growing career. And she had a steady rise in terms of her career and in terms of the role that she was taking. So she went from small roles to slightly bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, on the rise, as we should say. Now, after Catherine is saying that after the Waldman statements in the Daily Mail article, there was a negative social media campaign against Amber Heard, and after these statements, the media blew out with negative publicity surrounding Amber Heard and, you know, the Waldman statement. Now, again, I'm going to argue that because I don't think that the article in the Daily Mail had anything to do with the negative publicity, because if we are to remember well, around the time of the article we also had the divorce, we also had the restraining order filed. So basically Johnny Depp in the public eye was a DV aggressor, right, on her. We also had various media articles with Amber Heard in People's Magazine with the photo, with you know, all of the other things that were negative around Amber Heard. So the negative media publicity that she received did not come from the Waldman statements in the Daily Mail article. It came from everything else around their relationship and everything else that happened after. The negative publicity came from, as she said, Johnny Depp fans. Now, I don't know about you guys, I am a Johnny Depp fan and I've always been a Johnny Depp fan, but for example, when I used the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp, I didn't use the hashtag to say something negative about Amber Heard. I used the hashtag because I'm genuinely interested in Johnny Depp's case, and also because I genuinely believe that he's a victim of DV. Therefore, I'm using Justice for Johnny Depp hashtag because I want him to get justice, not because I want her to get negative publicity. Do you get what I mean? So these are just on the realm of probabilities again, and you are basing an opinion you make on probability and also on what you think that people are thinking. So you don't know that this person is thinking this or this person is thinking that. It's just what you think that they are thinking. Because people were using quotes from Waldman's article in their tweets, for example, on Twitter, let's say, that meant that was negative publicity around Amber Heard. Which, it kind of, no, I don't think it means negative publicity. I think it means that people are having a conversation about statements made. They are not having a conversation to bring negative publicity towards Amber. And people quote things all the times from articles, from whatever statements and things like that. Now I know it's different in the public eye, and yes, you can argue that some of these things that are being said online will obviously affect Amber Heard negatively, but you can't really pinpoint the time that her career was negatively impacted because of the Wallman statements in the media, because around the same time we had all of the other things going on, and so you can't say that this is what impacted her career and her earning potential. In terms of her testimony overall and also her cross-examination, this was the one witness which I felt like in a way could potentially damage Johnny's case and help Amber Heard's defamation countersuit against Johnny. I mean, on one hand, I think it could be damaging. On the other hand, I don't think it could be damaging because she's basing her expert opinion on probabilities. She's also basing her expert opinion on, what she basically did, she basically took a pool of actors who are more or less similar career-wise with Amber, and she took their careers over time and how their careers grew over time in comparison to how Amber's career is growing over time now after everything that is happening, including this trial right now, right? But she is using actors as comparison, such as Jason Momoa, Wonder Woman actress, someone who played in Spider-Man or Batman, and these people, they already have careers before even Amber started having a career, so they've been on the scene since the 90s. So you can't really compare Amber Heard's career with Jason Momoa's career, for example. But this is what she based all her assumptions and her expert opinion on. She based that on Jason Momoa's career growth and other actors' career growth, even though they participated in many more movies which were box office performers, I think they call them. And they were much better known than Aquaman, even someone who played in Star Trek. So again, from me personally, you can't really compare, you just can't compare Amber Heard's career with Jason Momoa's career, or with someone who played in Star Trek, someone who played in Batman, someone who played in Spider-Man, Superman, whatever DC Comics movies they played in. You just can't, because Star Trek is iconic, Batman is iconic, Spider-Man is iconic, Superman is iconic. Although I'm not a fan of Star Trek myself, I know it's iconic, right? Everybody knows that. Whereas Aquaman, Jason Momoa was Aquaman in the Spider-Man, Superman, oh I don't know, I got confused, never mind. You guys correct me in the comments down below, because me personally, I'm struggling with remembering names of movies, names of actors, names of singers, musicians, whatever, and I don't know, for the life of me I can't remember names. I'm struggling to remember names. I remember faces, so visual memory, but I can't remember names for some reason. It's very hard for me to remember names, so again, sorry everyone. So also Catherine was saying that the industry can't work with Amber Heard because of all the negative publicity surrounding her, and her acting world has been silenced because of everything that has been happening, which as Catherine says started, that was the fire that ignited everything, the statement that Wallman made in the Daily Mail article. So according to Catherine, her estimated earnings loss assessment is between $40 to $50 million, but this, guys, is over 5 years period. So between 2021 for 5 years to up to 2026, yeah. So this is what she's basing her potential loss of earnings for the period, for 5 years, starting in 2021, and she's comparing this with what the other actors were doing in terms of their careers and how many roles she could have lost because of all this negative publicity around her. Now, during cross-examination, again, it was an amazing cross-examination. I still don't feel like she completely lost credibility, but like I said, I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. But during cross-examination, it was pointed out to her obviously that she can't be comparing Jason Momoa's careers, for example, with Amber Heard's career. She was also pointed out that you can't really make an estimate of loss of earnings on movies which didn't happen, and we don't know if they will ever happen. So also about the Aquaman role that Amber Heard had. So Amber Heard told Catherine that she lost parts of the movie and it wasn't in her script anymore. However, Catherine only saw a draft from one script, so she didn't know if it was the updated script. She didn't know if it was, she didn't know which script it was. And to me, it seems like it's possible that Amber Heard exaggerated her role in Aquaman before everything, these allegations, and her role in Aquaman after, and it's possible that she actually fed Catherine what her role should have been without Catherine checking from a different source, so she took Amber's word for it. Yeah, this is what I got from the way that Catherine was describing this issue. So during cross-examination, there were a lot of points which were brought up. And again, I'm gonna go back to the probability side of it, and also it was pointed out the Justice for Johnny Depp hashtag, the hashtag we just don't like Amber Heard, the hashtag about the poo-poo on the bed, and the lawyer was really trying to point out that her own actions really damaged her own career, because who wants to have someone endorse a product or a brand who pooped in their partner's bed, right? All the internet is talking about it. There's memes around it. There was a hashtag on Twitter trending, me poo instead of me too. So again, no known brand would want to associate themselves with someone who does these kind of things, or no brand would want to associate themselves with someone that behaves in the way that she behaves during the audio recording. So I think, from my point of view, she damaged her own career potential due to her own behavior, not because of the statement that Waldman made in the Daily Mail article, which Catherine can't really prove that it was made at the direction of Johnny Depp. We have the testimony we have a deposition from Waldman, Johnny Depp's lawyer, but most of the deposition is kind of nonsensical, if I'm honest with you, because 80% of it is client attorney privilege and he couldn't really answer the questions, but we will touch on that in another video.
All right, and I understand that you're testifying as a damages expert, and wear two hats, talking both about Mr. Depp's damages and about Ms. Heard's purported damages. Let's talk about Ms. Heard's damages first. You understand that you have to testify as to damages that resulted from the Waldman statements, correct?
That was my analysis.
Most of your testimony, however, was just simply testimony about things that occurred after the Waldman statements.
That's what I was tasked with, yes.
Right. The mere fact that there were activities after the Waldman statements doesn't establish that the Waldman statements caused any damages, does it?
When you look at the time frame of when the Waldman statements came out, and you look at what was going on with Ms. Heard's career prior to the statements and what happened after the statements, it's very clear to make that correlation that they were caused by those statements and the campaign that followed afterwards in terms of the negative social media. as I stated and very clearly wanted to make sure that everybody understood, was that it was a time frame between which the Waldman statements were made and the negative decline in her career started happening, and in discussions with her agents and her publicist, there was a very tight timeline and a very close link to when those statements came out and when everything started pulling away from Ms. Heard.
Right, but what you're talking about is just a link in time. You do not put any causal connection between what Mr. Waldman purportedly said and the damages that Ms. Heard purportedly suffered. You have no idea whether Mr. Waldman's statements caused any damage to Ms. Heard, do you?
Well, actually, both the words in the statements were used as hashtags in the campaign, as well as when the statistical and the investigative analysis was done on the social media campaign. It turned out that 1 in 4 of the statements had Waldman or Waldminian in them. So that was another connection that I was able to make between the defamatory statements and the negativity that the studios and the product endorsements and the television and the press connected as well.
All right, let's start with first principles. If they're true, they're not defamatory, correct?
Again, that's outside of the scope of my expertise.
All right, let's then go back to what you just testified to, and I think you said the Waldman statements appeared in hashtags.
I said words from the Waldman statements appeared in hashtags.
Right, and the hashtags that were analyzed, however, don't have the Waldman statements in the hashtag.
I've also seen them online myself.
Well, but the analysis that Mr. Schnell did, he looked at 4 of them, right?
That was Schnell's analysis, and I do believe I remember reading that, yes.
All right. And the 25% that you just raised, that's Mr. Schnell's analysis. You didn't do that. He did it.
Correct.
All right. So you know what Mr. Schnell did. And he didn't look at hashtags that contained the Waldman statement words. He looked at Justice for Johnny Depp, right?
That's one of them, yes?
One of them, of the 1.2 million hits that you talked about, that was 900,000, 984,000?
Well, also in my conversations with Mr. Schnell, we talked about all the words that were in the statement that also appeared. So what he wrote in his report and what I had in my conversation may not have been the same thing.
Ma'am, I don't want to hear about your conversation with Mr. Schnell.
It's part of what I relied on, and I'm allowed to talk about that.
All right. So your conversation with Mr. Schnell, let's move beyond that and let's talk about what the other hashtags were. Amber Heard is an abuser, not in the Waldman statement, is it?
The fact that she was called a hoax can be related to Amber Heard as abuse. No, those words were not used, correct?
Right. And we just don't like Amber. That's not in the Waldman statement.
Correct.
All right. And Amber Turd is not in the Waldman statement.
Correct.
Right. None of those things are. And in terms of the use of the words fraud and hoax, that appeared in only 6.5% of the millions of tweets that Mr. Schnell analyzed, right?
I don't have his definition or his report in front of me, but we can look at it together if you'd like to.
Right. And you said Waldman appears in 25%. Waldman or Waldminian.
According to Mr. Schnell, yes.
No, all right. But if that's your only evidence, however, that any of this activity has any link to Mr. Waldman. Is that correct?
Well, no, we also look at the timeline because those campaigns were not active prior to the Waldman statements, and then they started appearing, so there is some connectivity there as well.
Mr. Depp bears no responsibility for the social media campaigns. He doesn't. If the social media campaigns caused Ms. Heard to lose her ability to generate income, that's not the Waldman statements. That's a social media campaign.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. May we approach? Okay.
All right. So I'm just looking for all evidence of the causal connection that you claim exists between the $45 million in damages that you assert and the 3 statements made by Mr. Waldman.
Well, I also looked at Ms. Heard's career after the divorce proceedings and other lawsuits that she was either involved with or was discussed. And her career might have had a pause, but she was able to overcome that when she did Aquaman and she did The Stand, both very prominent productions. And there was no dramatic downturn in her career after any publicity.
Ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you have notes with you?
No, there's dust.
Oh, okay.
It's just dust, and I'm just distracting myself. I guess
I'm sorry.
It's just nerves. It's really just that. There's just
that's okay.
dust. Sorry.
So you looked at her career, and you looked at the way her career was moving.
Right. So as I was saying, her career was moving forward, and even she had been able to overcome the negative publicity surrounding the divorce or the initial filing of the UK lawsuit and the other lawsuits, anything that she was associated. She overcame that. She did Justice League, and she did Aquaman, and she did The Stand, and she got the L'Oreal contract all after that. The only time her career slowed down and stopped was at the same time that those defamatory statements came out. So,
but there was a lot of other activity that happened following the defamatory statements. You said every time Mr. Depp files a lawsuit, it ignites the fire around the both of them. Right?
No, I actually said it ignites the fire mostly around Mr. Depp. That was excuse me, please.
I'm sorry.
That was in context of when I was asked about Mr. Depp's career. That was not in context of when I was asked about Ms. Heard's career.
It's not the same fire?
It is and isn't. Who's the protagonist in the case in the UK was Mr. Depp. Ms. Heard was a witness to that case. She was not a part of the case. So most of the negative press went.
There was enormous amounts of negative activity around Ms. Heard as a result of the UK case. Isn't that true?
There was negativity, yes, about both of them in the case, yes.
Right. Substantial amounts of negativity.
Right.
Right? And so you can't tell me that that negativity isn't the thing that keeps your or Ms. Heard from working.
Well, again, it was a close time frame. The negative statements were a much closer time frame to the press and publicity around Aquaman and The Stand than the UK case, which was months later. So, again, I will look at the defamatory statements as kind of the igniting force, and it was promoted and kind of more oxygen was put on the fire when the UK came out. So it kind of became a snowball effect of the match was lit and it kept getting stronger and stronger.
So this was basically everything that was throughout the day yesterday. At the end of the day, from my point of view, my honest opinion, guys, is that yesterday was a completely wasted day for Amber Heard's team because it didn't help Amber Heard at all. The only thing that I was just a tiny bit concerned, like I mentioned, is Catherine's expert opinion. So, but just a tiny bit, not a lot, because yeah, I'm not sure if we should go by realm of probabilities here. I don't know how the jury is going to see that, but this is how I'm seeing. You can't really predict exactly what's going to happen in the future because there are so many events which change the course of everything that happens. So you can't really predict something like that, right? So basically, yeah, I think it was a waste of time from Amber Heard's lawyers. They are short on time as it is. They just wasted a whole day without reaching anything to benefit Amber Heard, if I'm honest with you. Now there are some things which I want to point out here. I think that the Me Too movement is going to be negatively impacted by what's happening in court now. But I also think that if Johnny loses this defamation trial, I know that he doesn't want the money. I think that this is not the reason why he did what he did. not for the money. I think that he did this to clear his name, and I think that in the court of public opinion he's done that. However, if he loses this trial, I think that it sets a precedent for male victims of DV, and we not only already had the stigma surrounding male victims of DV and why they don't come forward. If you have a public figure like Johnny Depp is, and you have a jury that says we don't believe you, and you are Johnny Depp, then what will that say to someone, a male victim of DV, who accuses the female as perpetrator? Who would believe them? Because they will think, if this man, Johnny Depp, considering who he is not believed, then who am I for people to believe me? So I think that will badly affect male victims of DV and how in the future they will report. If Johnny Depp wins, then I think that he could be a public figure representing victims of DV. I truly think that. In comparison to Amber Heard, which she was a fraud representing victims of DV, in my opinion. She was a fraud of being a public person for the Me Too movement. That's what I believe. I believe that she was a fraud. This is my opinion, allegedly, freedom of speech, all that, you know, freedom of speech. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. The only thing that I'm concerned about, Amber Heard. Okay, guys, I'm not taking her side. I'm not taking her side at all. But I'm a human and I have a heart. And I think a lot of people will agree with me when I say this. She is in a place where she needs mental help. She's in a place where she needs mental support. And I am scared for her of how this will affect her mental health. And I honestly and truly believe that she's in a very fragile state of mind right now. And it's not getting any easier with all the negative publicity around her online, with everybody booing her, with everybody, you know, naming her all these names online and everybody talking negatively towards her. And I think that she's in a very fragile state of mind right now, and all that is happening is not helping her mentally. And quite honestly, guys, I'm very worried for her, because I think that if she loses this trial, I think that potentially she could try to end her life. I think that she's at the point of she's growing desperate in this sense. I have sensed desperation in her while she was on the stand, when she said that she has a child, she's a mother, she just wants people to leave her alone, she just wants this to be over with. I know that she brought it onto herself. However, considering her mental state, I think that she reached a point where she is just so desperate for everything to just finish. I don't think that she can handle this anymore. And I think that she will reach a point, if she loses this trial, she will reach a point. Because imagine if she loses the trial, how the media is going to be like, how the public eye is going to be like, right? With all even more negative things towards her. So I think that she already reached a desperation point here, and I think that her losing the trial will just be an explosion, and I think that she will potentially try to end her life. I know that she's narcissistic, I know that she's constantly wants attention, I know that she's an aggressor, and I know that she's jealous and she's controlling, and she's who we already know that she is. But I think that she is in a very fragile state of mind, and this is why I'm particularly worried about her. So please, guys, do let me know what do you think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'm hoping I'll be able to get more videos out this week. I'm not entirely sure, because it just takes so long. It takes so long for everything, and I'm just doing everything by myself. So yeah, I'm trying to prioritize things. So again, I'm hoping I will. But anyway, for now, I have a playlist with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, all the coverage that I did on this trial. It will be linked in the description down below. And also, I do have a Patreon. If you guys are interested to see this, my Patreon is 18 plus, and we talk about things that we typically can't talk about on here on YouTube. And also there are 3 tiers available on there. I'll give you shout outs on my videos, every single video, to the members. Also we have crime scene photos over there, and we basically talk 18 plus things that we can't talk about on YouTube. You have behind the scene photos, videos as well, and other things. So yeah, you can go and check it out. The link is on your screen and also in the description down below. And if you are not a subscriber, please do consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell so you are notified of any new videos I upload. Also, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It really helps, and you really show your support for the channel, and it helps me and my channel as well with the performance overall on YouTube and the exposure. And with this, let's end with today's video, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye!